Yeah, okay. Good evening. Oh, I like that. I'm delighted to welcome you to this collaboration between the Curator Chair at UMKC with the Nelson-Atkins Museum of Art. I'm Alan McDermott, co-chair of the Curator Chair Speakers Committee. Many of you are already familiar with the chair and its programs, but for those of you who aren't, let me give you a bit of background. The full name of our organization is the Carolyn Benton Curator Chair in Continuing Education, founded in 1965 to honor a beloved UMKC professor, Carolyn Benton Curator. She was a passionate advocate for lifelong learning, and a group of her former students established the original endowment, which subsequently received other contributions, and that enables us to bring speakers and scholars to Kansas City to lecture on varied topics in the arts, sciences, and humanities. In addition, the chair sponsors courses for adult learners in the spring and fall semesters, taught by UMKC faculty. Please visit our website at umkc.edu/cocafair to find a listing of our programs. You can also sign up to receive timely emails about our current and future programs. Now let me introduce my co-chair, Ann Miller, who will tell you about a special opportunity this weekend to take a deep dive into Mesoamerican art. Ann?
Thank you, Alan. Well, I'm just here to remind you that tonight's event is just the tip of the iceberg, and Friday and Saturday, the Carolyn Benton Curator Chair, along with the Nelson-Atkins, is hosting a 2-day symposium on Mesoamerican art and culture. Conservators, curators, scholars, all experts in the field are coming together from Mexico and from around the United States to share their expertise in panel discussions, keynote speeches. It is a singularly wonderful opportunity, and I hope we'll see you all there. Thank you.
We might mention where they are.
Oh, okay.
UMKC, the library.
Sorry, Alan reminded me, Friday, tomorrow, the events take place on the campus of UMKC, and on Saturday they are here at the Nelson-Atkins, and you can get information from the websites.
Hello, good evening. And so here, I'm Julián Zugazagoitia. On behalf of our board, it's my honor to welcome you to what is going to be a very special evening, an amazing conversation, and the beginning, the kickoff of what was anticipated as a great collaboration and a great conversation over the next 2 years. Scholarly people all over the United States and even further away internationally to come and discuss Mesoamerican and Pre-Hispanic art. Here you have the QR code, so please use your phones. I'm going to change the slide in a few seconds. But this is, and it's free, open to the public, and you can all come. The next slide is going to be the 2 speakers with whom I'll have the honor to be discussing not only pre-Hispanic art, of which I know nothing, and they know everything, but about museum installations, about their work in both coasts. But let me say a few words before that. And first of all, what a joy it has been to present and to have in Kansas City the exhibition that so magnificently was curated by Diana Magaloni. And Painted Worlds has meant a lot. I just felt every time I went into the galleries, such a vibrancy. Seeing it with no visitors had been a joy, but it has been even more important to see it when all the public is seeing it and seeing how this material talks in such a profound way to so many different people. As I said, the exhibition was first originated at LACMA at Los Angeles County Museum and was made possible at the Nelson-Atkins thanks to the Lilly Endowment and to the support of so many sponsors that are here tonight. So a big hand of applause, thanks to all of our supporters. Thank you. And to our board members. As I was mentioning, the exhibition was curated by Diana, expanding on her deep scholarly research and knowledge on the Florentine Codex. And if you remember seeing at the very beginning of the exhibition and in other two, there were 2 or 3 replicas of the Florentine Codex open in different pages that really talked about color. And also, as I like saying, and maybe she'll correct me later on, the Florentine Codex is to Mesoamerican pre-Hispanic art the equivalent of the Rosetta Stone to uncover Egyptian art. And that book and the way that allows her interpretation to flourish is what gave us this amazing exhibition. But in Kansas City, to bring it home here, we had entrusted this exhibition to Kim Masterler, our curator of Southeast Asian art, who along our amazing team created one of the most beautiful exhibitions ever with an interpretation and ancillary programs that culminate tonight in this event. Kim's sensitivity to millennial civilizations is evident in all her work, especially if you walk our second floor and Southeast Asian galleries. But this material resonated particularly with her in a way that connected both Asia and in particular India and Mexico in a way that the Mexican poet Nobel Prize winner Octavio Paz had first showed it to me, and through his poetry and his writings about India connected Mexico and India in a way that today, thanks to Kim, I'm seeing the reverse and in vivid ways. So again, our talented staff working along with Kim brought a design that I just heard from our curator, Diana, that she said that it looks amazing. And thank God, because if not, we would change everything. But we're taking it out, the exhibition anyway, in a couple of days. So I hope if you have enjoyed the show that you come and see it again through the weekend as we're really on the last days of this exhibition. To celebrate the success, we're culminating, as we said, with this great symposium that is a collaboration and a dream come true. First, I want to thank the COCAFAR Chair Board for hosting this event here tonight. I had the honor of speaking as one of their guests when I first came to Kansas City and when I was still a new, freshly minted director of the Nelson-Atkins. Now, 15 years later, still I feel fresh and minted. So I'm happy to speak at this lecture. But the collaboration also with the UMKC is through this symposium is very meaningful, and I hope it is also not only lasting, but the beginning of many other collaborations. I want to thank particularly Dr. Mauli Agrawal, who's here with us tonight. Please, a big hand to Dr. Agrawal, the Chancellor of UMKC, who has really brought this institution to great heights. And I also want to thank, in particularly, Tamara Falkov, who's here with us. A big hand to Tamara for all that she does as the Dean of the School of Humanities and Social Science. This is a great partnership, and while we're close, geographically we cannot be closer, I think all these collaborations make our intellectual pursuits closer also, which gives me a lot of joy. You can definitely scan that code and join us tomorrow and Saturday for a very, very interesting series of conversations. The program is amazing, and you can also pick and choose which ones you want to attend, but I would encourage to attend all of them and then give us your comments. Lastly, our colleagues from Lawrence are also here and also exploring Mesoamerican art with us this week. They ran a 3-day workshop at KU on the natural dyes with Mexican scholar Tatiana Falcón, and she will be presented also at the symposium. Tatiana is here, so a big hand to Tatiana, please. And also a big hand to our friend, colleague, and admired compatriota of art, Sarah Reese Hardy, who is the director of the Spencer Museum, and she's here with us. Lastly, I want to thank our community partners, Mary Rhodes Center, for their work with us in many programs, among which this, and in particular also Dia de los Muertos, with which we launched this exhibition. Finally, there's one person that is also very special to anything that has to do culturally and civically in Kansas City these days, and it is a great honor to have among us the very special guest, Soleil Padilla Mayer, the Honorable Consul of Mexico here in Kansas City. So, Consul Padilla, thank you for all you do. She does with equal joy all the arts, but with equal determination everything that is to, well, in these very difficult and complex times, work in making sure that our communities are dignified and celebrated. And I think through the arts also we see what communities bring to the common knowledge and the common humanities. And so her work supporting not only this institution, but everywhere you go, she is there. And I only see her in the art world, but everyone else tells me in every civic instance, she's always there. So big hand to our consul. Thank you for all the support you've given to this exhibition. And she's promoted this exhibition to the great success that we have had with the community. But now let me very quickly introduce, because I really want to have them both on stage. And this is a new way of calling Los Tres Amigos. Normally it's Mexico, Canada, and here it's 3 Mexicans from coast to coast. So it's really an honor to have Diana Magaloni and to have Laura Filloy today in dialogue. Diana Magaloni is an internationally recognized museum leader and curator, art historian and conservator. She was born we have in common that the 3 of us were born in Mexico City. Who has been to Mexico City? Okay, 2/3. We're going to be organizing a Mexico trip for all of the other ones who didn't raise your hand. Because it is one of the most amazing, astounding, and fascinating cities in the world. And it is so close, we should all go there. Actually, this week is Sonamaco, which is Art Week in Mexico City. We should all be there. But as I told my friends there, I cannot come because we are having the great Art Week in Kansas City talking about pre-Hispanic art. Diana Magaloni had also the great honor of, and perhaps distinction of, directing the most important museum in Mexico, el Museo Nacional de Antropología y Historia, which is like the national emblem of Mexican culture. She held that position from 2009 to 2013. And then in 2014, she joined LACMA, where Michael Govan, a great colleague, thought that not only she was the genius to interpret pre-Hispanic and Latin American art, but now she gave him the whole responsibility, and we'll be talking about this, of rehanging the whole collection of everything as they are now about to inaugurate their new facility, the Peter Zumthor Design Geffen Galleries. And so we'll talk about that because it is also an amazing responsibility to reinterpret, to rethink, and we're all looking forward to attending and seeing how that collection is now redeployed in Los Angeles. So a great responsibility. Laura Filloy, also very good friends, and they were in school together. So this is also a gathering, I tell you, of friendship and the importance of scholarship at the highest level. Like Diana, Laura Filloy Nadal also roots from Mexico City. She earned her BA from the National School of Conservation, Restoration, and Museography, the LINA, and then started in France, earning her MA and her PhD in archaeology at l'Université de Paris, Paris-Sorbonne. Laura joined the staff of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in 2022, where her major project has been to lead the renovation of the Michael C. Rockefeller Wing, designed by one of our finalists, if you remember the competition, Why Architecture, led by Kulapat. He was the person, and we visited, well, they were installing just before the inauguration of the wing, and we can say that it is a stunning redeployment of a collection. And so we'll be talking about what it means to work at an institution like the Met and rethinking how to deploy a collection, what it means also in terms of interpretation. Before that, Laura also has curated at the Met in 2022 the exhibition, The Lives of the Gods, Divinity in Mayan Art. I don't know if you saw it. It was on the floor that at the time also I think had a design exhibition or something. It was one of the most beautiful experiences, and the architecture of the show itself was really significant of the materials that you are seeing. Previously, Laura served as senior conservator and researcher at the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, and also as a professor of the National Institute of Anthropology at LACMA. Laura has been a visiting scholar at Princeton University, La Sapienza in Rome, Harvard University, and Le Musée du Quai Branly, and held research and conservation fellowships at the British Museum, Palacio de Bellas Artes. No, Palacio de Versalles, I'm sorry. I'm really... Well, we have a Palacio de Bellas Artes in Mexico, but she actually was a fellow at Versailles. I don't know, somewhere in France, I've been told. And Laura is the author, of course, of many, many, many publications, and she will share with us right now her vast knowledge from cultures across Mexico, from Teotihuacan, Palenque, and of course, Maya. So please help me welcome both of them, and we'll have a conversation about art and about installing collections, about pre-Hispanic art, and we'll also give time for answering any of your questions. And with that, please, Laura and Diana, please join me on the stage. And let's bring the lights up. And you know, we're going to be very informal.
We're going to give a 15 and 15 minutes, and then we'll talk.
You see, we're gonna do something that I think I was told, but you know, I don't follow the rules very easily. All right, with that, I leave you to Diana Magaloni. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I mean, after Julián, I hope I will continue to make you happy with my talk. So I'm here to talk a little bit what this conference is about. It's about the future of museums. And because, of course, the Rockefeller wing was reinstalled with a new vision, and LACMA is just really gonna open a new building for the permanent collection, and you here at the Nelson-Atkins will start a very important project of renovation. What is powering this in terms of ideas, concepts, and our commitments? So as you heard from Julián, my specialty is art of the ancient Americas. And when I got to LACMA in 2014, Michael Govan said that he wanted really to walk in the galleries and see the Americas connected to its roots, you know, to have this continent as really the very beginnings of this continent, not having Greek and Roman art or Egyptian art as our roots, but that we were in this continent and that we needed to begin thinking about that, and that he wanted my help to do that. So LACMA has two very important collections. One, it's a Mesoamerican Maya art collection that is one of the most important in the world, I think. And the other, it's a pre-Columbian Colombian collection, not of gold, but of ceramics. So we embarked in trying to really see the collections differently. And the first thing that I started pursuing was to have these works connected with a different philosophy that would see them, because we can interpret them, we can reconstruct history through archaeology, but the vision of those who made these pieces, the world that made it possible, is still living today, but we need to retrieve it. And so we started this project with the Arahuaco community in Colombia. Here are some images. And, you know, we discovered a world in itself. And the most important thing that they took a year to decide if they wanted to live with us, but work with us, but the first thing they said is that they didn't want us to interview them so that we would know what that signified and we would write about it. And that they really wanted to work with us as equals, weave with us a reality, and that if we wanted to work with them at that level, we could continue to work together. So we went many times, like 8 years, they came to LACMA, and at the end we were able to have this really like groundbreaking exhibition that transformed the museum itself and the way we practice, and transformed us, but also transformed their community. And here we are in Zurich, where it was really too amazing, because Swiss are very aware of the environment, and the message of the Arahuaco is really that they have been in charge since the time of creation of understanding the connections between everything that exists. Their training is to think deeply and to have you being responsible for your thoughts and therefore for your actions. And nothing is in a haste, nothing is gratuitous. And so those conversations, like listening to them in the setting of Zurich, in the setting of Houston, where it also traveled, and in our settings, and really having people being moved by these objects that otherwise were just objects, but all of a sudden had a life of themselves and in themselves, was very impressive for us. And at the end of the project, we helped build this house, that it's a cancurua. It's the house of knowledge, where they are trained, where they continue to train the spiritual leaders called mamos for the future, because our project is called The Ancestors That We Want to Become. And here is the cancurua. I brought my daughter, and my family got to know them, and we were really proud of building this house. And now, like after this ended like in 2022, the communities in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta continue to want to build cancuras for their own communities. And the cancuras for the man is to be trained, like in thinking and healing, etc. But for women, it's about food security. And they started to plant again the series of seeds and with these methods that are time immemorial. And the cancurua of the women has created these communities that continue to be like independent from exports. They are doing it for themselves and recovering this knowledge that it was not a practice when we started. And all of these cancuruas have been built, and every time they build one, they say it is the work that LACMA, the museum, and them are doing together. So this is a way to really transform the collection beyond just a collection, and having the ancestors become the ancestors of the present and the future. So that really moved us. Like for me, it's been years of trying to understand like the implications of all this learning process. So when we started to think about We Live in Painting, that it was the name of the exhibition here, Painted Worlds at LACMA, I started really, a process of rethinking, but of course the pandemic was in the middle. And so how do you connect with communities? How do you go about doing that? And really it was thanks to Tatiana Falcón, who is here, another friend in Mexico that has been working with indigenous weavers for a very long time, and then an artist in Ventura County, California, right there, that we were able to establish these connections again and bring everything we know from science, from history, from archaeology, from art history, about color and about techniques, bring it into the present and bring all of this knowledge as a conversation with these groups of artists. And here is Porfirio that has been here and will continue to be here in the symposium. And he's an extraordinary artist. I mean, if you see this textile hanging on the wall, he's bringing all of these, grecas, these patterns that are Zapotec, that come from sites like Mitla, but he's reinterpreting them with the idea of a contemporary artist. So these are works that are really very much recasting the past into the present and propelling into the future, because he sees himself as a traditional artist, learning from his father and his grandfather and continuing a tradition of learning like that. But at the same time, he says of himself that he is a contemporary artist and that he's learning how to have a voice as an indigenous Zapotec, but also as a Californian, in today's world, and unite both things. Just as the Mamo says, we need to work together. We need to meet these two worlds and weave them. So that was Porfirio. Here is Carlos, working with all of these communities in Chiapas, reintroducing natural dyes and reintroducing traditions that they know, but that needed to be rekindled. And he's been working with these communities for 20 years. So what we did is commission these beautiful pieces that were a challenge for the weavers, because a lot of what is woven here had been forgotten. And they started to, talk among themselves like the aunts and the grandmothers, and they would come and they would try again, but this is the result, which is a beautiful piece. It's a commission that we now have in LACMA's collection. And here is Tatiana Falcon, who will be joining us in the symposium, but her work, studying the Florentine Codex and the recipes of the colors and their meaning. But not only that, we were able to really convey, because I visited with her, to this Nahuatl-speaking artist. They live in a town where there's only painting. They survive by painting. Today, 2025, they still survive by painting. But of course, they don't know that their surviving by painting has started right in front of their little town. We have a plaque of jade in Ahuelica, and that it's like you can walk from there to Xalitla, and it's I don't know, it's from 1900, before our era, the first drawing there. So they needed to be aware of this long-standing tradition that they are part of and continue to be part of. And that is what their work was about, beyond understanding this technology of color, that it's amazing. I love that photo. And you can see these works at the exhibition. So very briefly, we're installing this beautiful new building. It's by Peter Zumthor. It's one story. It's surrounded by light. Here is the shape. It's a very organic shape, really inspired in the horizontality of the city, Los Angeles. It's a horizontal extension, no? And also in the La Brea tar pits. So it's like a tar pit right there, a new one. It has 27 internal galleries, but every single space around these internal galleries are also galleries, courtyard galleries, terrace galleries, corridors, what you would think or call a corridor. It's also a gallery. So the in and the outside, the inner world and the outside world. All the curators worked together. There's no chronology. There's no, culture, like first you see this culture and then this other one, but it's really a co-curation. It's the team of the whole curatorial team, around 30 people, working together, inspired in this idea of oceans. and connections. So in what they are the entrances in the north and the south, we begin with the ancient Americas, because it's our continent. And of course, the ancient Americas was not connected to Africa or to Europe until a certain point, and not at the moment of these works, but we connected them among themselves. So you see Colombia, Panama, the Gulf of Mexico, you see these areas, and then you see the areas in the Pacific also from Colombia to West Mexico, pieces that connect, and people that were getting to know each other, and the installation is like that. These are the spaces, so you are always in context. You see where you are. It is a world that, it's like a promenade in the park. The architecture is very much about light and shadow, and it's really a wandering, and it gives you, it's like now that we're installing, every time we install a work, it's like re-seeing works for the first time because of this new context. And we hope to be open very soon. These are just images of the building, so you can, I am not able to show you the installation or anything because it will have to be for the inauguration, April 14. And we also, this land in front with this great oak that will grow, because this oak it's an adolescent. We planted it together with all of these, they are California indigenous poets and two Maori artists that in collaboration will create a poetry garden with sound where you would walk and listening to these sound portraitures. And this is how, like, we have brought the collaboration with indigenous artists and communities into California and with Californians. So, and also in the Pacific Rim with New Zealand. So that is what I wanted to share with you. I want to thank very much Julián, Kimberly, for this invitation, for having the exhibition, for hosting us, and having this wonderful collaboration. I love the exhibition here. It's magnificent. I was telling Soleil, the consul, that it's so engaging and fun that you don't feel shy about being in a museum. And that is something really spectacular. And I saw a lot of families and a lot of students, and they were talking, and they can come and explore and see things at ease, and it's fun. It's very different, and that you know, it really engages. So thank you so much. I give it. Now it's coming, Laura Filloy.
Thank you, Julián. Thank you, Diana. So while we wait, here's my first slide. So good evening. It is a real pleasure to be here and to take you on a brief journey through the history of the Michael C. Rockefeller Wing at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. The project I'm sharing today is the result of a huge team effort. Architects, designers, light specialists, conservators, and of course, curators. The Michael C. Rockefeller Wing, marked here in the oval, is dedicated to the arts of Africa, Oceania, and the ancient Americas. Today, I will focus only on the section devoted to what we now call Latin America before 1600 or pre-Columbian art. In reimagining this collection, I had the fortune to work closely with my partner and friend, Joan Pillsbury, a specialist in South American art. Today, the Met is made up of 22 buildings, but it didn't always look like that. The museum first building was small. It didn't even face the Fifth Avenue. Instead, it was more directly connected to Central Park. The Met engagement with ancient American art go back almost as far as the museum itself. In fact, the first pre-Columbian sculpture entered the collection about 150 years ago. In those early years, the field was considered essential and was celebrated as American art for an American museum. Here we see the gallery of Mesoamerican antiquities before the turn of the century. But the interest of the museum shifted over time. In 1904, the new leadership began to question whether these works belong in a fine art museum at all. That same year, most of the collection was sent across the Central Park to the American Museum of Natural History. The visual tradition of the Americas before 1600 were pushed into the realm of natural history. They were no longer treated as art. Not everybody agreed with that view. Here we see Nelson Rockefeller, a passionate collector. He traveled widely in Latin America and spoke fluent Spanish. Here we see him at a dinner in Mexico City around 1943 with Frida Kahlo. Rockefeller was deeply valued ancient American art. On the right, he is with the Maya works from his own collection. At that time, when the Met did not share his enthusiasm, he founded the Museum of Primitive Art, which opened in 1957, an institution devoted, on his words, to the world's artistic tradition not acknowledged by the Met. The museum eventually returned to acknowledge the ancient American art, but about 50 years later. Nelson Rockefeller was the driving force. Here he is in 1969, announcing the gift of the Museum of Primitive Art collections to the Met. The gift changed the museum forever. Overnight, artistic tradition from 3/4 of the globe entered the Met collection. On the right, you see the New York Times Magazine cover announcing the new gallery under construction. The plan included building a new 40,000 square foot wing to showcase these works. Designed by Kevin Rush and John Dinkeloo, the space honored the art of the Americas, Africa, and Oceania. When the wing opened in 1982, it was transformative for the museum, for the city, and especially for the field. The new galleries had low ceilings, dramatic lighting, and wall-mounted cases. The design was cutting-edge exhibition at the time, but the installation stayed essentially the same for over 30 years until 2016. After 4 decades, change was necessary. The wing iconic glass was facing the Central Park was failing. By 2020, it had serious leaks and threatened the collection. And it also did little to shield objects from harsh southern light. This is the view of the wall before its demolition in 2021. Replacing the curtain wall became an engine of the renovation. The new window system had to use advanced technology to better protect the objects, reduce energy consumption while maintaining a stable temperature and humidity. The new window now includes 7 layers of glass and micro-patterning with fritted glass to prevent bird collisions. It improved the visual connection to Central Park with curtains that can be deployed only during the brightest hours of the day. These structural needs create an opportunity to rethink how the art could be displayed. Just as the building was failing and aging, so was the way of organizing and presenting the information. The glass replacement allowed not only to upgrade performance, but also to move less light-sensitive work closer to the window. Ancient American art is now organized in 3 distinct environments: a high-ceiling gallery for large sculptures and more light-tolerant works, a lower, more sheltered space for South American materials, and a completely day-free gallery for textiles. Here, again, is the 1982 gallery with the monumental Maya rainbow shack at the right. The lighting was dramatic, no? Really pretty moody, I think. Now, you can see the same sculpture in the new setting, with the floor plan developed, as Julián mentioned, by architect Culapati Antrasat and his team from Y Architecture. During public hours, the Mesoamerican collection is bathed with filtered daylight, closer to the bright condition under which these works were originally seen. The walls in the new hall are covered with pale limestone, reminiscent of the stone from the Yucatan Peninsula, so valued by the ancient Mayas. It was also used to define cultural zones in the ancient Americas and was chosen for the magnificent wall that divides the Americas from Oceania. The architects drew inspiration from ancient Mesoamerican sites, not only for visitor flow, but also for architectural details, pyramidal forms for certain platforms, and case bases that reference the talud tablero style of Teotihuacan for rails that hold the labels. Here we see the same platform now with visitors. So you can imagine the experience of viewing these works in person while I hope you travel to New York and come to see us. In this image, we see the gallery dedicated to the Incas. The arrangement of the display cases is designed to echo the enclosed architectural spaces typical of the Inca architecture. One of the key goals was to bring this object into the light, embracing our natural attraction to open, nature-connected spaces. Relief now benefits from ranking light coming from the park. Light shifts through the day and across the seasons. The landscape becomes a back stage and link to the central park. Platforms and cases allow close viewing and even 180 degrees movement around many works. The sensory experience is essential. Gold gleams as it once did when worn on the body, and jade's transparency and intensity truly come alive. The new layout creates a more fluid organic visit. Architectural design supports the narrative, allowing movement between contemporary cultures and helping visitors to understand how interconnected ancient societies were, sharing ideas, materials, and technology. For example, you can follow what I call a river of gold to think about metal working from its origin in Peru around 2000 BCE to its fluorescence northward in Central America. Gold working was adopted relatively late in Mesoamerica, after about 1000 CE, and the artist also produced brilliant works. For most of the public hours, filtered daylight fills the Mesoamerican and Central American galleries. The curtains adjust conditions, but in both scenarios, the experience remains beautiful. Finally, the textile gallery is unique in its kind. The dark gray walls let the textiles take center stage, away for that bling-bling of the gold. And then the magnificence of the work by ancient weavers, such as the Wari and the Moche artists, truly stands out. Just across modern and contemporary, this gallery has already sparked fascinating conversations. It reminds us that abstraction didn't begin in the 20th century. It existed centuries early, as seen in the feather panel woven around 900 CE. In general, the galleries are arranged both chronologically and geographically. If you enter from modern and contemporary, you move through the earliest artistic tradition in the Americas to the great empires that flourished just before the Spanish arrival in the early 16th century. As I mentioned earlier, we reinstalled the collection in this beautiful new space to highlight connections between regions. But it also gave us the opportunity to think about how different societies organize themselves and how they express their ideas visually. Here, for example, is an 8th century Maya relief panel. One striking feature is the traces of pigment that are still visible on the surface, a reminder that many of the stone sculptures you see in the galleries were originally painted. This scene takes place in a royal palace. This panel actually records the name of the artist who carved it. In fact, this is the only signed work in our gallery of ancient American art. His name, Leaf Chacalte, appears in the lower relief, but is still clearly visible. And it's right beside the king's name. When the wing opened in 1982, epigraphers hadn't yet deciphered his name. One of the most exacting parts of this project has been incorporating new research based on remarkable discoveries in the field. The object interpretation in the gallery and the outline reflects the latest scholarship, as well as more than a decade of collaboration with colleagues across Latin America, and including conversation with present-day keepers of indigenous tradition. When the Rockefeller Wing opened in 1982, the study of ancient American art was still in its early stages. That opening had a huge impact, and research has flourished even since. We hope that these new galleries reflect those discoveries and inspire future generations. That's all for now. So I leave you here with this magnificent view of the Michael C. Rockefeller Wing at the Met, and hopefully it'll inspire you to come to visit us. Thank you very much. So now it's time, I think, that maybe you can join me in the stage so I don't be alone here.
Let's all go and sit there. There's one thing, and can we have the lights off a little bit? Look, there's two things I see here. We're going to be 3 Mexicans on stage, and they're giving us water instead of tequila. I think they did that because the moment we have 2 tequilas, we only speak Spanish. But first of all, I think I have to, yeah. First of all, I cannot tell you what an honor it is to me to have both of you here today. Really, the greatest talent in our curatorial divisions, and having both of you representing East Coast, West Coast, and the best of Mexico gives us a lot of poise. Also, because both of you are engaged right now in transforming your own museums. Lara, you are a little bit ahead. You're almost there after many years of this. This building has been in our minds and in conversations for so long, and also what it will be as a redefining and a very different way of deploying a collection. As you said, no chronology, no borders, a really different way of looking at it. So it's something that I encourage all of us to travel and see once it opens in a few weeks, if not months. Months, okay. Yeah, it's delayed because she's here for 2 days. But my first question is, when you're embarking in something like this, in redeploying the collection, in this case, let me ask you first, Diana, what from all the trainings, both of you, again, incredible trainings and everything, and also you share, both of you, conservation practices, which is also something very particular perhaps to Mexico, and we could talk about that too, those things. But in thinking about redeploying a collection, and in this case, the entire art history of the world, how do you go about it? And what were the challenges that you're being facing? Oh, you have one.
I have one.
Okay.
Wow, that was a difficult one. I think the most important part of this enterprise is that we are a team, like Laura is saying. So I think it started really in the pandemic. You know, we were able to be in Zoom all together in their houses. Nobody could travel. We were right there, and we started a conversation how to go about it. What does it mean to be in, like, even the idea of the oceans came of conversations all of us had, and to start working as colleagues and really feeling that the work we'll do, it's a common work. So that is the first thing you need to do, really build team and communication, you know, focusing on the what do you want to achieve, and liberating creativity. I have to say Michael Govan has been, the director, has been really inspiring. He had the dream of a world where the important thing was that people could, as in this exhibition, come and discover, wonder, be in awe. And every single curator knows what that is, because we work differently than scholars with objects, connecting with these works. And to connect with the work, you need to connect with that human essence and be able to communicate it to someone else, so that it is not about connoisseurship, but about like shared humanity, you know, questions, values, dreams, fears, you know. And so he's open and he's very inspiring, and he was always leading those conversations and making questions, like posing questions that were really important. So that is the way you go about it, and to have really as the objective to create a place where people can come and find themselves in there.
And Laura, so now you have the experience of now having first joined the Met when the project was beginning and have to think, and there is 3 different collections, although you have the lead on one, but it is also bringing together 3 different civilizations, universes. How did that conversation went, and also how to, as you said, we see that the space is divided in a different way that it used to be. How did all those conversations with the different curators and with the Met interpreters and educators shape how it is today?
So yes, the wing is devoted to the three big areas. So if you think is the 3/4 of the world is in that whole, so it's very difficult. We wanted to share things together, but also make really distinctive spaces, and also the way of telling the little histories that we wanted to tell reflect the different areas. So the first part was working with the architects. So each of the 3 sections has their special traits in architectures, in the way the flow goes, the color of the walls. And then, of course, you have some conversations that are shared by the three collections. One important thing to say is that our collection stops in the 16th century. The other 2 also bring into the light the artistic tradition up until today. That's the difference between the 3 collections. But one special trait that follows the rivers or follows the seas are the textile traditions of the world. And we wanted to highlight the artists that are not so well known, and those are the women's. Actually, doing the weaving performance or weaving textiles is mostly, or it was in some societies, a trade that was made by women. So we have a lot of unknown artists that we believe are women. So that allows us to have some conversations about gender and performance.
Fabulous. So, of course, all of these conversations, and we'll have more, and we hope that you'll come back, is also because we're about to embark in a new expansion, but also the expansion should be, on the one side, we have the collection so beautifully deployed, but also, is there a possibility for other interpretations? So those are conversations we're starting to have, or how to deploy the collections in a different way that feels refreshed and renoveled. There was some pictures from the 80s on the Met, and also earlier that were so, when you see them exactly, and for someone like me who discovered the Met in the 80s, and that was so archetypical, you think that is what exactly here, these two. Well, it's night and day, literally. And there might be some architects in the room here that knew how much also it was against natural light, and now they're seeing how I evolve into maybe enjoying natural light. But the truth is that all of our assumptions are good to be questioned from time to time. One other thing I wanted to ask you both, if you both have seen now the exhibition, and did you see it in LA? No, because you wanted only to see it here. Okay, I understand. Laura, thank you for doing that. Well, but for Laura, who installed it there and is discovering it here, well, for Diana, who installed it there and now is seeing here, you saw 30 new objects that you had not seen before. 30 new objects that are in the Nelson-Atkins collection, some since the 30s, others gifts in the 60s. Tell us about those objects, because I myself, I'm still discovering, we have more in reserves, and perhaps that expansion allows to deploy some of that collection. Yeah. So, hey, look on the left-hand side, we might have some pre-Hispanic art eventually, but tell us about what you saw.
Okay. Working on this exhibition, I have to say, and I forgot to mention right there, I co-curated it with Alice de Carteret, that I hope is here. She was coming. She was coming, yes. And so Alice and I were really closely thinking about the sections, like white, and what does white mean? Because abstract ideas like colors, because in a sense they are very concrete. You create colors through materiality, but at the same time, if you say red, it's a complete abstraction. Or if you say color, it's a complete abstraction. So understanding the abstraction and understanding how that abstraction concretizes, it's through the works. And the way you organize that, you really need to understand where the abstraction comes from. So for us, it was reading the ancient myths and bringing that, that knowledge or those stories into concretion. And the way it is deployed here, it's using the same principles, but in a way completely different.
Different, yeah.
And I was incredibly surprised at how playful and intriguing, even me, I was, but it's different. And then I started discovering in each of these sections pieces that I have never seen and introduce into these abstract concepts in a way that it's really good. And I think that it's really a very good curatorial work on the part of Kim.
Totally.
And your collection that I came to see before, and I studied in that you send me the photos, etc. All of a sudden, it reveals itself. Totally. So that is what a good exhibition can do. It opens its secrets, so those works become active. And that is what I saw in the exhibition.
In this exhibition. Laura?
So, Julián, I'm going to tell you something that you don't know. But
they're all fake.
But
Please, no!
no, before going to the Met, I was working with Diana, Tatiana, and Davide Domenici in the in the first talks and small seminars that they made. So for me, coming here and see the actual exhibition that had grown from the ideas that they have as curators, you always have to leave a lot of ideas behind. You have to pull the threads that really give you the opportunity to weave the actual history that you want to tell. And so they left behind a lot of little details. But here, now I'm discovering that world that grew from the discussion of a series of colleagues that have been working in different ways with color, with indigenous tradition, but also with modern and contemporary artists, but also with the indigenous tradition in different parts of Mexico, and even with Zapotecs that have been, that migrated with, when they were kids to the States, and now they are like flourishing as modern artists. So it has been a really, really nice journey, and I learned a lot today. So visit the exhibition with Diana maybe and with Kim so that you can learn more from the curators.
Totally. No, and this is, again, for us is what a joy. First of all, of course, we benefited from the fact that our teams could go and see it at LACMA, as we did, and then start finessing it and adapting it also, not only to our spaces, but also, I think, to our audiences. And in that sense, working in making it our own, introducing these 30 pieces. And for all of you who have seen the show, I mean, just a quick raise of hand, who has seen the show? Okay, almost everyone. Whoever has not seen the show, last 3 days. So for those of you who raised your hand so wonderfully, I invite you to see the show once again and identify 30 objects that say Nelson-Atkins collection. And just not only identify those, but also see the chronology when they were accessioned. So if you see very in the low, when we put numbers, there's a date and then a little following dots and numbers. The date is when we acquired it, and then the following numbers means which, when, for instance, if we buy 100 objects in 2026, it will be 2026 dot object 99, object 100. So that gives you a code. And it's interesting, there were some early objects that we collected. A lot came in the 60s and 70s. And the interesting thing of that is also, just like you, I had seen some of the records, and they're in our deep storage, and I thought they were not that good. I mean, from the very bad printed, you're like, okay, is this? Some look so good, though, that I thought, like, maybe this is just modern forgeries. They're looking so nice. So it was great that Kim's work, and then she invited some curators and some experts from Mexico, and now both of you have seen them. And I've been really reassured. When you said, I have something to tell you, it's like, oh no, that one is not a real one. No, everyone has confirmed that they're authentic, and actually they're incredible. So it has just given us the poise to say, hey, this is worthy of really redeploying. So that is also an exhibition that keeps us giving by allowing us to study our own and other things. I'm just coming back actually from Mexico, from having a conversation with the director of Museo de Antropología, Antonio Saborit, who is now thinking of creating a partnership in which some scholars from Mexico can come and go into our reserves and continue helping us with this material. And that could lead also to long-term loans from Mexico here. So a lot of things are just being cooked as a result of this wonderful, wonderful exhibition. I know they're telling me that the time is short. There's so many questions and so many things. But let me ask, Diana, how did the public reacted to the exhibition? What anecdotes or can you share from the people visit to this exhibition at LACMA?
I get what I really like. The most challenging part of explaining the Mesoamerican world, the idea of colors, the idea of this is ancient and this is new, and there's this continuity, all these new ideas. To because we all have like ways of seeing the world and things that we have been educated, and we don't question them again. The exhibition questions them, in a sense. And what I like is that people say, it's true, I never thought of it, but it's true. I mean, these traditions have a continuity, and I can sense the color in Porfirio's works, and I can see how his knowledge, it's really connected to the past. I got a lot of those questions, comments. And the kids, 8, 9, up until 12, if you ask them, and they feel like, do you know how to make red? Would you know, if you cannot go to a store and they tell you, please, I want a painting with red, blue, and yellow, how would you do it? Or can you find, if you have blue and yellow, you know what other color you can do, no? These kinds of things that for them, for me, when I was growing up, it was not so alien, because we were more with tools and things in a more concrete way. But today, with the screens and thinking that you get all of the information from that screen,
from the iPad,
and just typing or asking Siri something, to ask them questions that they couldn't answer, it was so good. And then to bring them through how do you know that, and how impressive it is, and that is also technology. That was for me my favorite. I really felt like, yes,
I love it.
This is really giving something to this time. Exactly.
And Laura, sorry, how about you now reinstalling the collection? And of course you've had, and I know, and I've been one of the lucky persons to have had a tour with you, but you've seen droves of people come. What are your impressions of what the intent was and how people are receiving it?
So I know now that 1 million people have crossed the gallery in the past 6 months. So it's amazing.
Wow,
it's
that's amazing.
Really amazing. So we don't know actually what they think, because we don't have a public, a study of public, or a notebook or a survey. But I think that will be very interesting to know actually what they are thinking about. But I can tell you, I love to go to the gallery and just sit on the little benches and see how people interact with the exhibition. So one thing that I truly like from the way that we managed to place the objects in the cases is that you can see them all around. So you can see the object very closely, and you can really enjoy the pieces as the work of art that they are. So instead of having a lot of objects in one case, you have a selection of each tradition, and then you can really enjoy how the works were made, the materials that they were using, and actually the people are doing that. They are I don't know if they read. I don't know if they read the labels. I spent 2 years writing the labels, and I don't know. But what I can say is that they are enjoying the art. And that's what it's about to be in a museum, enjoying the objects.
Well, I think we'll learn a lot from both of your installations. We'll learn a lot. I do feel that there's less number of works of art, less density, but that actually makes the appreciation of the works of art, and you highlighted the works that really deserves time, and I think we'll learn from those things. I know that, and I see Anne there saying, oh, she mentioned labels. We will still have labels. I know people love labels, but also today I see also younger people coming with this, looking at QR code, looking online. So how do you maintain that people come and see, while at the same time knowing that at their fingerprints they have all these tools? How do they complement that? So a lot of great questions that, again, thank you for joining us here today. Thank you for being part of the symposium. I know that we're going to also have great conversations on topics that are close to our hearts, but also know that your vision and exhibitions and anything we're doing right now, it's also thinking how audiences, and you said, hold on, hold this, please.
Of course.
I took notes. I still write in paper with a pencil. So how can we all become, and I invite you also to think about that and to all join me in thinking, how can we be all the ancestors we want to become for the future? How can we become the ancestors for the next generation? So thank you for that quote. I'm going to quote it now every day. But I invite you to do the same. Thank you very much.